A short story by Paul McCann entitled Bo and the Barricades. Anytime the local community ever had a problem, they always held a meeting. And the most recent problem in the village was the current spate of antisocial behaviour. Trees getting broke and windows around the town getting damaged. The problem was the town hall was being renovated, so there was nowhere to have a meeting apart from the boxing club. So the Lord Mayor called in to ask Bobo if they could use the hall on Thursday evening for the meeting. Bobo was always busy instructing boxers in the ring, showing them a few little moves and combinations. The Lord Mayor approached the ringside and began to flow into the situation, throwing a flurry of combinations, jabs and right hooks and an uppercut. Bobo looked over at the Lord Mayor from the corner and he said, "Put down those fists before you hurt yourself." Then he laughed and jumped over under the ropes. In front of the Lord Mayor, who looked straight into his eyes, and he said, "Well, Bobo, what do you think? Huh? Have I still got it?" "Got what?" Bobo replied. "The eye of the tiger," the Mayor replied. Bobo looked very closely into the Mayor's eyes and proceeded to walk slowly around his back and whispered in his other ear, "Well, I'd say if you do have it, maybe you should give it back. One-eyed tigers could be a danger to the community." They both had a good laugh, and Bobo caught his breath and he said, "What can I do for you, Lord Mayor?" "Well, Bobo, the thing is, the people respect you as a coach and as a leader in the community, and I need to ask a favour." "Sure thing," said Bobo. "I'd like to call a meeting here at the club on Thursday evening, and I was hoping you could be the chairman, on that night." Bobo called out to the boys in the ring and asked them to put some of the things away for the day. And then he brought the Lord Mayor into his little office. They both took a seat, and Bobo looked over and said, "So, what's the problem?" "Well, Bobo, since the rats and the troubles, the police won't come into the district anymore, and we as a community have had to maintain law and order ourselves. Last week in the village, we've had 3 people beaten up, 25 trees damaged, almost every window in the school broke, 4 homes destroyed, 5 shops broken into, and paint bombs thrown over the church windows. It's coming from the outside, I think, outside the area, not people in the area, but I think what we need to do is put a stop to it right away." "What makes you think that the trouble's coming from outside the village?" Bobo asked. "Well, a few of the men coming out of McGuire's last Friday night had spotted a gang who, on the roof of the school hall, were standing with a petrol bomb. And they chased them right away and caught one of them who they, let's say, squeezed some of the information out of." The Lord Mayor clenched his fist, and Bobo said, "I can see you're worried. Sure, I'll help, Lord Mayor, any way I can. So what if I get some posters made up and let everyone know about the meeting on Thursday?" "Oh, I knew I could count on you, Bobo, and if you ever need anything at all, just use the local council and my name. Okay, any account that you need and anything for the evening, go to the shops and put it on the working account." "Okay now, thanks, Bobo." The Mayor got up and walked away to the front door of the club, and Bobo followed closely behind. After he locked up the club for the evening, he made his way to Charlie's house, where he continued to knock the front door until Charlie stuck his head out the window and said, "Hello, Bobo? I thought I heard somebody knocking." Bobo put his hands on his head. "Well, come on then, don't just stand there like a statue, Charlie. I got some spare change and I thought maybe we could go to the movies this evening." In the rush to get out the front door, Charlie almost busted his head on the window frame. A few seconds later, he emerged at the pavement, rubbing his head. Bobo took a close look at the bump on his sore head and he said, "Oh, Charlie, I think we better save off, put the movies away until that bump's healed. So until then, I'll tell you what we'll do. We'll make some posters. I've got a wee job we have to do before Thursday." Charlie's smile disappeared from his face and he said, "What kind of posters? And how many are we going to do?" "Enough to put up around the village so everyone can see them," said Bobo. "Is this a job we're going to get paid for, Bobo?" On the way to the hall, Charlie was talking about the movies and about all the things they could have been doing other than making posters. Bobo looked at him and said, "Charlie, sometimes, we do special things for the community for nothing, for free. We have to give up our own time to do that. And Charlie, this is one of those special times." And he patted him on the back. After a little silence, Charlie said, Sure, I get it, I think. Charlie, I think I do. So, what are we going to do?" "Well, I think I'll show you when we get there. We have to make the community aware of some things that are happening. I'm proud of you, Charlie." Well, that's fine, Bobo, but what about the movies?" "I'll tell you what, after the meeting on Thursday, I'll bring you to the movie of your choice. How's that?" Great, Bobo. Can we go and see Bombay? I've always wanted to see that movie and it's on in the flick at the Vic." "Who's Bombay?" Bobo asked. Charlie said, Bombay? You don't know? Well, you're going to love it, Bobo. It's a cartoon all about this cute little reindeer who finds lots of friends and has a great big adventure in a forest." Bobo shook his head and he said, "Charlie, I always knew there was a place in the world for people like Bombay and me and you to go. I suppose so." All that evening, Bobo and Charlie worked on the notices about the meeting on Thursday evening at the boxing club. Then, the next day, they placed the posters all around the village. On Thursday evening, the community had gathered inside the boxing club. Chairs were laid out in rows, 10 deep and 10 wide, and the crows were made as people started to take their seat. People in the community that didn't get on had to sit together, and there were school teachers had to sit with parents who didn't get on, and there was some school students that had to sit with the teachers that sat with the parents that didn't like each other, and the crows were making sounds all night long. But eventually everyone settled down and the meeting was about to take its start. Bobo took into the ring a microphone and he said, "I'd like to welcome everyone here this evening and now declare the meeting open for discussion." A hand was raised up by a little boy in the front who said, "Bobo, can I use the toilet first?" Everyone laughed and Bobo continued, "Okay, hurry up, and if anyone else to use the toilet, please do so now before the meeting starts." About a dozen people got up and shuffled towards the toilets, and finally, when the young and the old people returned, everyone settled down and Bobo took the microphone and again began to talk. "As a community, we need to discuss the senseless destruction lately around the village. As you may have seen around the village, there's been some paint splattered on windows and upon walls. Well, the people who did this apparently are outsiders who have come into our village, and what we need to do now is find a way to keep them out. So if any of you have something to say or something to offer, maybe you could raise your hand and I'll call you into the ring." A hand at the back was raised. Bobo said, "Sure enough then, come on up, Mr. Maguire." Mr. Maguire made his way into the boxing ring and took the microphone. "I says, good evening. As the local publican, I have seen a bit of trouble in my time in the establishment that I run. I have found the only way to stop that was to bar those people from coming into the pub." Everyone applauded and Bobo responded, "So has anybody got an idea how we can bar these troublemakers from coming into the village?" Some hands were raised in the front, and one by one those people took the microphone in the ring. Ideas were put forward, and at the end of the meeting it was decided to put up barricades at the two main roads that brought you into the village. Then it was decided that until the trouble was over, some vigilantes would be placed on duty at those barricades 24 hours a day, and anyone who came in and out of the village would be questioned and asked if they were part of the village and what their business was. The building of the barricades began the very next morning. People brought out old furniture, planks of wood. Some concrete slabs were brought, and some people even donated a few unwanted rusty old cars. Barricades were built and erected, and on Friday night, the first roster of volunteers were placed on guard duty. Bobo and Charlie were part of that number. It was cold, dark, and well after midnight as Bobo lit a fire inside a large drum beside the main barricade. Suddenly someone approached slowly, and Charlie jumped to his feet with an array of weapons in his hand, holding up a broom, and he shouted, "Stop right there! Right where you are! Or else!" "Or else what, Charlie? You'll brush my hair and sweep me off my feet?" It was Mr. Murphy, the baker, who often came late into the village. He started to laugh. In his hands, he was holding a tray of tea and some of his homemade scones. Bobo said, "Ah, Mr. Murphy, you're so kind. I'll just leave the cups and plates outside, okay? And when you're finished, I'll take them in the morning on me way to work. Good night, Bobo. Good night, Charlie." Good night, Mr. Murphy." As he walked off, Bobo said to Charlie, "Charlie, maybe next time someone approaches you could say, 'Stop, who goes there?' And that way you'll know if it's a friend or not." Okay, it's a good idea." After they finished their tea and scones, Bobo and Charlie were standing around the fire, and in the background Charlie could hear the shuffling of feet. He turned to face the person who approached the barricade and said, "Stop! Who goes there?" The answer came back, "What?" "I said stop! Who goes there?" "I can't hear you. You'll have to speak up." Charlie said, "Stop! Who goes there?" Bobo patted Charlie in the shoulder and he said, "When you address someone at the barricade, Charlie, put some authority in your voice and project force behind it like this. Stop! Who goes there?" "Oh, it's just Mrs. Muldoon from number 52. I had me hearing aid turned down. Sorry to trouble you, Bobo, but you know, Charlie's mum and dad are out looking for him everywhere. They're in a frantic state and can't find him anywhere." "Oh, Jesus, Bobo, I'm in big trouble. I forgot to tell me mum and dad I was going on guard duty tonight at the barricade." As Charlie ran off down the street, Bobo turned around as he heard a heavy set of footsteps approach the barricade. Before the person got any closer, Bobo jumped out in the front of whoever it was and shouted, "Stop! Who goes there?" The man who approached was only Mr. McAteer on his way home from work on the dog shift at the factory. He was so shocked at Bobo's challenge that he blessed himself and exclaimed, "Jesus, Mary and Joseph!" Bobo saw the funny side of it and replied, it's okay, the Holy Family's allowed through." "Oh, well, Bobo, you scared the blinking daylights out of me." Mr. McAteer and Bobo started to laugh, and at the dawn of the day, Mr. McAteer offered if he could do some weekend guard duty at the barricade if needed. The next day, after a sleep, Bobo met Charlie in the village. "Hello, Charlie." "Hello, Bobo. I can't talk for long. I'm doing a message for my mum and she's been on my back all night and all morning for not telling her what I was doing. I never told her, Bobo. I just forgot." "Why didn't you tell her?" Bobo asked. "Because she probably wouldn't have let me do it, and I didn't want to let you down," Charlie replied. "Oh, you're a funny one, Charlie. Are you ready to go and see Bambi tonight then, at the Vic? It starts at 8 o'clock, Bobo said. "I don't think Mum will let me after the business at the barricade last night," Charlie replied. "Leave it to me. I'll have a talk with her, Charlie," Bobo said. That evening, after everything was straightened out, Bobo and Charlie went to the movies. They had a great night out, and even got some fish and chips afterwards. The next day, the news that a gang of troublemakers was caught at the barricade brought some great relief to the people of the village, and the Lord Mayor was so happy and impressed that he presented a special award to the community and all of the vigilantes at the barricade. The end.